I gotta finish telling you all my ghost story because it continues from the last video that I created. Y'all want to hear about it? So, last night was completely different than the night before that, where the door just creak and my paper mache tablecloth was like. Last night, I did one thing different, or actually, I didn't. Octavia did. Remember how I told you all that my cat, Octavia, who really is like my husband's cat, and I'm going to explain that to you all later. She has a very stubborn personality, as most cats do, and we respect that. So if she picks the couch to sleep on, that's it. No one is going to get her off of that couch. That's her couch for the night. But before she got really comfortable, I asked my husband last night, I was like, babe, can you please get Octavia over here? And like I told you all, Octavia is his cat. And he was like, Octavia, come on. He does this thing, right? And sure enough, you hear her little collar, her bell. And it's like, music to my ears. That little bell just made everything in the house, in my room, so peaceful. And as soon as I felt her little paws on the carpet upstairs, and then we felt the pounce on the bed, and she's, walking up to us on top of the comforter, we did a little huequito between him and she slept there, right in the middle. There are times when Octavia picks to sleep on top of my head. So I have like this little halo, and I have a bonnet on at night, and my bonnet is pink. And sometimes my husband says, like, what is this like black fur over your head? Because I have a pink bonnet, and sometimes it throws him off. And that's Octavia, like a little halo over my head. And on those nights I sleep very comfortably too, because she purrs, and the purr is just like, it's almost like it's right here on my ear, in my ear, and it's like so comforting, so soothing. But last night we did the little space, and she's there, and she does her little, before she turns into a little muffin, a little kitty muffin, and or a little kitty loaf, I should say. And she goes around and around, purrs, this little kitty purr, and boom, and then she lays down. It was a complete shift in that room. And I woke up today, and I'm like, the only thing that was different, well, I finished the Charlie Sheen documentary. Okay, so the second thing that was different was that Octavia slept with us last night. She came to the room. She didn't do that the night before because she was like, I'm sleeping on this couch. But last night, I had my husband call her, and she was right there. Once again, night and day. And I started thinking when I got up, I was like, this is weird, because I was really expecting to have the same stuff. Like, I emptied my bladder, I was ready, to go into that bed and not come out of that bed until the natural light outside was on again. But I think that's why certain cultures and countries, they see black cats in particular, as these like talisman or these furry, cute little warriors that ward off evil spirits. And let me explain something to you. All of my pets are rescue. And when I say rescue, I mean like I pick them up off the streets. They have no owners. By whatever fate, whatever kind of coincidence or, life happening, I find them. Sometimes they're ill, sometimes they are very sick, sometimes they're okay, and all I need to do is to either spay them or neuter them. But all of them, I have found them in the streets and have taken them in with the idea to adopt them out, but it never happens that way. I always end up keeping them. So my house has had, since I can remember, since my son was very little, a rotation of pets that have become family members that came from the streets. And when it comes to cats, all of the cats that have found me in that manner are black cats. And I know some people are like, they're bad luck or whatnot. There's this thing about black cats. I wholeheartedly disagree and emphatically disagree with those people. These fur babies have been nothing but like good luck and protection for me and mine, to be honest with you. And yesterday, I don't know if that confirms it, or once again, I don't know if I'm just like super into my series that I'm doing right now, and I'm just like not all there because I'm still empapada, inundated with the world that I'm writing. That perhaps I'm not being the most logical right now. That could be it too, and I'm open to the idea, that there's a logical explanation for all of this. And then still a part of me, I'm like, there are a lot of things in this world that we just don't know nothing about. And this may be one of those things that it's either unexplainable or there is an explanation, but we're just not ready to see it or conceptualize it because it's outside of the norm or outside of the logic that we have created for our world. And as somebody who like creates things out of nothing or out of just like a seed of fact and experience, I can appreciate that thought as well, right? That is just, I don't know everything that is out there. And this may be one of those things. And when it comes to our cats, I've always felt as if they choose us. And I know y'all have heard about the cat distribution system, right? So the very first cat that I rescued was Lento. And I rescued him when I was stationed in Belgium. His mom abandoned a litter of kittens. And he was the only one that I could capture. And then my coworkers, they had to go get the other ones. And we did like this whole thing. They were inside underneath the container at the bottom. And we needed to move the containers because we were going to move them into a different spot in the yard. And then I think one of my coworkers either heard a meow and was tracking that a mom had left from there, but the mom hadn't come back. So I remember like we waited and waited and waited, for the mom to come back. And then the mom didn't come back because we didn't want to scare the kittens away. And we didn't want to like take them and then she couldn't find her babies, and I think it was like a week and then the mom hadn't come back or anything like that. And I'm like, Jesus. And then we had to move the container, because we contracted out people to move them. So it was like this conundrum, So we was like, okay. So we called in like this rescue lady in Nuffville Chevres. I think it was Chevres. And then she was like, yeah, I'll be there when y'all, lift the containers and capture them. And she gave us like some tidbits, I believe, on how to do it. I think one of my coworkers came up with it. I don't know. It was a little far, it's a little way back there in my memory lane. And we ended up doing like these like little parachute kind of things. And And then as soon as we would see like these little fur balls, and they were all black little fur balls, we were like, and then we will capture them that way. And there was one, and I'm not the fastest person. My little reflective skills are not all that good. But there was one that I could catch, and I was like, "Aren't you a little lentecito? Huh? Are you a little slow?" I said, and I scooped him up, and he was like this chunky little fur ball. It was so cute. And I put him in my cargo pocket, and he did the rest of the duty day with me. And it was so cute. And then I remember I want to cry because he passed away a year and a half ago. And he's like, oh, the window just shifted. But yeah, he was my shadow. He was like, since that day, him and I kind of bonded, and we just had this thing. And wherever I was, he was there. He was just this pet that was so attached to me, and I don't know how else to explain it, but that, like, we were very attached. So, of course, when he passed away, it was like, oh God, it was horrible. It was a horrible experience, and I don't wish that on anyone. But then I also rescued other pets as well, cats and dogs. But like I said, when it comes to the cats, they're all black cats that finds me and my family. So the next one was Escondida. And Escondida, my husband found her in El Paso underneath a car, and she looked like super dirty, right? I'm so crying. Super dirty, and you can tell that the mom was nowhere to be found, because that was kind of like the first thing that I told my husband. I was like, hey, babes, look for the mom and see if the mom is anywhere around, and she just left the baby there and she's gonna come back. No mom. And then I was like, okay, well, try your best, because then she was at a bad spot. I think he went to the DMV or something like that. So it was a very hectic spot. And I was afraid that if he tries to get her, she was going to run into traffic. And I also didn't want it that. So he had me on FaceTime, so I didn't get to see anything. But he ended up capturing her and then bringing her home. And as we do with all the pets that we get from the streets, we take them to the vet, try to see if they have chips. None of these pets had chips, so it's like, if you're a pet owner, please chip your pets, because I know whenever I rescue fur babies off of the street, that's kind of like the first thing that I do is go find a vet and then have them scan them for chip, so that way I can contact that person and try to reunite. But none of them had. Then the next thing is like, okay, do they need to be spayed or neuter? All of them had. So I don't even know if they were somebody's pet, or I don't know, maybe they were breeding them or whatnot. I don't know. But none of the pets that I found were either neuter or spayed or had chips in them. So those were things that I do, and then get them vaccinated. And then that took care of Escondida. But because she was so tiny, so little, and malnourished, we put her in a crate away from Lento and then the other pets. So that way she doesn't get trampled on, and she just has that little space for her with a litter box and things like that, until she can feel comfortable in our home as well. And then it's an open crate, so it allows the other pets to kind of go and, wander around and smell her and see, is this a new friend? This is a new family member. Let me go meet them. So we do that whenever we bring a new pet in. And then the next one was Octavia, the one that you hear about in this story. She was the next one. She was very sick when she was rescued from the bridge that connects El Paso and Mexico. And they brought her over, and I think she was in a taller, in a auto shop, and she probably was inhaling a lot of fumes because she had really bad like asthma and respiratory infection and all of that. Thankfully, the rescue helped out with a lot of those costs. But then when we made the decision that we was going to keep her because my husband just got really attached and started bonding with her, that, we was like, well, we're going to assume the cost for Octavia because she's going to become our pet now. And of course, they were ecstatic, Bridge Pup Rescue of El Paso. She was ecstatic. She was like, yes, we love it when the people that foster end up adopting them. Little does she know that everyone that I foster always ends up getting adopted. It's like it's a perfect foster parent. And so that's what happened. But my husband didn't want to get attached, so that there was a little back and forth in there just because Escondida, he got attached to her, but Escondida ended up bonding with my son. So as you can see, right, we have Lento that is bonded with me. We have Escondida that is bonded with my son now. And now you have Octavia that is bonded with my husband. And she never, and for Octavia, she never got out of that bond like Escondida did. So they're still very much bonded. And that's why I said last night to my husband, call Octavia over, because if he calls, she will for sure come. With me, it's a hit or miss. I'm her number 2 human, Now, our last rescue kitten, and guess what coat this rescue kitten has? If you guess black, you're right. So our next rescue kitten, another black kitten, is her name is Dila. So she was one of the community street cats. She has a little clip on her ear. But the thing with her and why we ended up adopting her and bringing her into the house first in El Paso, because she had gotten a really bad eye infection where I believe she had gotten scratched or had gotten into a fight. And right now we're waiting for surgery, so that way either they can close the lid or do something so that way it doesn't get any worse. But when it comes to Dila, this is why I say like some of our rescue just have like more ailments and more health issues than they first appear to have. Octavia, we thought was the worst because of her respiratory infection and all of that. And she still has like super bad asthma to this day. But Dila, she's still on the mend right now. So that's why when I felt like it was like too much for my son and he was going to start going to school, I was like, well, let me bring Dila with us to San Antonio, because she was in El Paso. My son had rescued her and she had bonded with my son. And once I brought her over to San Antonio, she had mites, which is contagious, and then scabs and all this other stuff. So because of that, I ended up being the only person that kind of took care of her. So that way it's less of a chance of things passing around in the house. And then I made one of the closets here her apartment, and my husband put like a yard doors with netting that you can see inside and she can see out. So it's a closet with one of those doors, so that way everybody can see and the air flows through there and everything. And we call it her apartment studio. And Dila now lives in the apartment studio until she gets all healthy. And hopefully within a few months, she can be integrated with the rest of the pack. Now, Dila has bonded with me now because we are very much in contact. 2-3 times a day, every day. She sees me and I touch her and I hug her and all of that. So that way she can feel that warmth. And like I said, Lento passed away a 1.5 years ago. And sometimes I wonder if he sent her over because, I was so very lonely without him. But as you can see, like, cats are a blessing in the Ortega household. Have always been a blessing and will continue to be a blessing. And I think I just proved it with last night's events, or non-events, I should say, because Octavia's a little behind, you know, sleeping upstairs with us, just made everything so peaceful. And if y'all are thinking about getting a cat, go to rescue first and rescue one. And if they have a black one, I would say go ahead and get it. They go with everything, by the way. They look cute in any background. That's one. And two, they ward off evil spirits. They will protect your house and they will protect you. Listen to my story. And what are you going to lose anyways from getting a black kitty? Absolutely nothing, but you're going to get to have little fur baby full of love, and then all these little... They're the best. I hope you enjoyed this story. Stick around. If you like these kind of stories, go ahead and subscribe and like. Leave me a comment if you have had like these real life spooky experiences. I want to know. I want to commiserate with you. Okay? And come back for another one because, you know, spooky stuff happens around here all the time. So you're going to hear more about this. All right. Bye.